Okay. This will be called to order for the November 12th, 2025 board meeting for Thurston County Fire Protection District 8. And the first order of business on the agenda is public comments. Number of folks attending by Zoom. Okay, hearing none, I'm assuming there are no comments to be made. So the next thing on the agenda here is the board is going to go into executive session. And we're gonna hear from our attorney and the fire chief about the collective bargaining agreement that has been negotiated. And so for the folks who are on the Zoom, I'm sorry, but you'll have to log in again because we're gonna close it off so that we can have executive session. And so this should last, or we got about 4:46. Okay, until 5:45, so about 15 minutes. And so we'll not be making any decisions during the executive session, but we'll recess here and we'll come back. Okay.
There, I didn't get it.
Okay, we're trying to take a little time here and make sure folks have the opportunity to log back in. So probably another minute or so.
Can you guys hear me fine?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I'm not there. I just have a really bad cold and I don't want to spread it.
Thank you. Okay, so we are back, reconvening the regular meeting, and we had our executive session. So we're currently down to, we're going to have discussion and a request for approval of the new collective bargaining agreement. And I'd like to ask our counsel to say a few words to begin with.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Dave Luxembourg for the record. I'm the district's labor attorney. Thank you to the council for having me here tonight. I'm here on a happy occasion, which is to recommend to you with a due pass recommendation, your new labor agreement for the years of 2026 and 2028. We spent the fall and part of the summer negotiating with the IFF, had a really good process. We have a couple members from 13 here tonight and maybe one online as well. I think they joined me in saying that we had really productive discussions. They worked really hard, and we got a deal that I think is fair to both sides. So it's a it has been ratified by the IFF already, and so both Chief and I are recommending. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank Brent and Derek and Kyle for working with us. It was a really good process.
Excellent. Very good. Okay. Is there anything you want to say, Chief?
Yeah, just that, y'all have seen the agreement, I guess, one, have any questions on it at all? And two, my recommendation, as Dave mentioned, is to adopt the agreement, so.
What's next? A motion?
Yeah, assuming no questions. Gloria, no questions from you either? Okay, then I'll like motion if you would.
I'll make a motion to approve the collective bargaining agreement for 2026 through 28. I will second that.
Okay. And I noticed on the, yeah, on the agenda here, it says to 2030. We're only going to.
Oh, we forgot to tell you.
Oops. Thanks for noticing that. Good job. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor of adoption of the collective bargaining agreement, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Great, thank you so much.
Very good. Any other questions for Dave? I promised him I'd get him out of here as soon as you can.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for letting me come down.
Yeah, thanks.
We'll take care of the logistics, get it signed, and we'll get that done in the next couple of weeks. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Good to see you too. Thanks, Heidi.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Good work.
Chief. There. So you guys have clean copies. You guys have clean copies, so.
Oh, he has.
Yeah, what's going on there?
Give him a hug.
Go back.
What's a hug?
Pretty tight. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of management attorneys.
that get stuff.
Yeah. Okay, thank you all. Have a good weekend meeting.
Take care.
Safe trip home. Thank you.
Go straight home too.
Yes. Okay, move on to the chief's report for October.
Okay. Did send it out, hoping you all had a chance to read it, and if so, I'd like to answer any questions that you might have. Report?
Yeah, I didn't see anything in there unusual or anything to raise questions for you. Gloria, did you have anything?
No, I did not.
Okay. Thank you. We'll just keep on keeping on and
Keep on.
yeah, all right, for annual transfer of funds.
There are two resolutions. These were both already budgeted for and approved by the board previously for the 2025 budget, but we usually do it at the end of the year. That way we have the funds available to us. And they are for $192,988 from the general fund into the reserve fund. That's resolution 2505. And then we also have $384,406 from general fund into the CR&R capital repairs and replacement budget, resolution 2504.
And we already approved that, right? What you're saying.
They've been approved, but the resolutions haven't been approved.
Okay.
Just the transfer itself was budgeted.
So I can move to approve. Can I, we do both of them at the same time, 25?
Yeah, you can.
2504 and 2505.
Moved.
Second,
Thank you. All right, moved and seconded to adopt the resolutions for transfer of funds. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
aye.
Okay. All right, now we're into the discussion stuff on budget policy recommendations.
The draft document was, I reviewed that with you last month and sent drafts out to you as we incorporated a couple of the inputs on it. My ask tonight is to adopt it as part of our annual budget planning process. Glad to answer any questions.
Any things? So I had a question under staffing, we're talking about IR&R staffing, and we of course had the discussion about the need to consider whether or not we're going to continue in the end of this year hiring new firefighters and that kind of stuff. And I wondered, so that is IR&R, but what about our management staff? We had a position for a administrative assistant, and I assume we're gonna go forward with that.
That will be part of the discussion of budget, but, yes, I think the intention in the report here was to point out an unexpected shortfall of expected revenues, whatever we would need to be due for any number of things for the budget, right, to include hiring new staff, whether they're responders or overhead. So
Okay, there wasn't a separate section about
it
that,
wasn't
so-
meant to, no,
Right.
because that would be something. This report says we need to talk about it,
Right.
We'll talk about it down the agenda.
Right. Okay. Understood, thank you. Okay, you just need to approve the draft.
We, well, adopt the document.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
That becomes our business plan for 2026.
right,
I make a motion to approve that.
okay. Moved and seconded. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. I will send a copy of this out to all of our members so that they all have the opportunity to know what.
That helps.
Okay, Heidi, we have,
So, yeah, our official budget hearing is when the board approves the request that we're making as a district for our tax levies for next year. And we do that based on the, about assessed valuation estimates that we get from the county. We can only ask for the number that they tell us that we can ask for. So that's where these figures came from. I mean, it's all based on numbers, so. Resolution 2507 and 2506 for property tax levy ordinance. Up for discussion if you have questions.
This is, last month, we went through in some detail process, how we determine what our levy should be. It is all set by statute. We do have two levies. We have our regular base levy and the excess levy. So the amounts that we've included in our resolution will be for both levies.
right, and, again, I don't have it in front of me, but, 2506 is our regular, levy. And 2507 is.
They're actually both different documents, but
Yeah.
it's the same information. So it's 5.4 billion for a regular levy. And then 2 million for the excess levy.
Right.
And then there's roughly $8,000 that's a refund levy based on the refunds that are being given to the constituents. Totaling 7,431,000.
Okay.
And both documents give the same information in a different format.
They serve different purposes under the statute. One is a certificate of, how do I say it? One is the actual instructions to Board of County Commissioners who actually do the levy of tax collection. Then the other one is acknowledging that there's a difference between this year's and last year's, and what the increases are. So, okay.
All right,
But all the verbiage is based on statute.
Okay, are these numbers confirmed with the county, so we can base our budget on next year?
Yes, we received, the latest one we received, Monday. And it did change substantially, so.
Okay, I'll have to change it.
I expect probably after the first of the year, after there's, assessment adjustments and other stuff, it'll change. We usually get 3 or 4 different sets of numbers till they're finally settled upon at the county level in January, so.
It's not gonna change drastically, it shuffles.
Like it does in our ways.
So this is statute, right? What you're saying. So why, do we approve it just so that you can document it?
It's the board
So
that
it's
approves
covers-
all of our resolutions.
Okay,
Yeah.
'cause I'm like, well, if you can't change it, then why? Okay, I get it.
okay. All right, look for a motion.
I can, move that we approve 2506 and 2507. As their.
All right, moved and seconded. Any other last questions, comments? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. All right,
Won't be that we.
now we'll talk about parts, the expense budget.
What I've chosen to do rather than handing a bunch of paper out is I've got a, that was it there.
Mhm.
Oh, never mind, found it.
Yeah, share screen.
Is that what you did you do share screen?
I.
Green down there, I want.
No.
It's, yeah, that one on the left. Yep.
Can we get rid of this collateral?
You can
Okay.
get-
Well, I'll,
It's not for you.
sure that's smaller.
Oops. Oh, shame, shame. I'm sorry.
Go to your right.
And record out.
Who gave him the book?
To the rescue.
He's got children at home, probably showed him.
You're the David Lee show.
Not crazy.
Okay, you know, this far more. Okay. Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, this is.
Yeah.
This is a spreadsheet showing, a working tool that I use, in looking at both revenue and expense side of the budget. We've asked each of the program managers to provide us with input on their various programs. So Brent and Derek and, Daryl have provided, information for their programs, and we've talked that through, and Brent and his team has worked on updating the CNR capital reserves and replacements budget. So they're all in there, and we've examined them, and they're not all that much different from last year. I think that the thing that I want to focus in on, of course, is the shortfall and what we have in our plan and our actual revenues that we have. So based in our 5-year plan, we, as I mentioned last week or last month, that we had planned on a 6.5% average increase of our assessed valuations over the years. And we've been exceeding that up to this year. You remember, our current increase is about 1.5% past year's assessed valuation, substantially different than what, and I went into that in more detail, talking about the revenues last time. So this is the other side of the equation. What's the impact back to our operating? So you can see we're about $180,000 difference between what we thought we were gonna have, what we actually, will be, that we just authorized the levy for this year. So, as you also know, in the 5-year plan, we've chosen to do certain things to better staff our 2 primary stations, and then hopefully staff our 3rd one as well at some point. But we are currently engaged, and as Brennan will talk to us about a little bit later in the meeting, proceeding on, we've recruited, we've interviewed, and we're in the background process for 5 finalist firefighter EMTs, entry level, and the position for the admin assistant as well. So, and we had 3 candidates, I think, that we went through the background process on that. All of that's happening, and we're proceeding with that. So it really actually boils down to the ability to fulfill that. And so the first thing that I look at when I'm looking at this is what our ending cash balance will be from year to year as we have diminished revenues and increased expenses. So this scenario is one that we talked about heavily, was again, including the price of an extra admin assistant here. And then for the career working model was if we couldn't hire 5, we would try to hire 2. So, what I'm gonna show you first is that, if
Like, click to green.
You might need to do stop share and then open the next document.
There we go. So, if we hired the admin assistant and the 5 firefighters we have in our 5-year plan. Problem is that, while we come out in the black at the end of this year, it quickly goes down. And over time, it is, a lot of extra money and unrecoverable. And to this point, where these large numbers here are indicative of, we haven't plugged in numbers here for the renewed excess levy, which would have to be renewed in 28 for 29 and 30. So essentially, with no extra income and with those committed expenses, the byway effect is that we go deeper and deeper to debt here. I mean, natural agent. So one of the things, like I said, that we looked at was instead of hiring 5 firefighters, hiring 2. There we go. And you can see that the drop off is not as steep, but it still pushes us into the black or into the red in the out years 28, 29, and 30. And
Which are, but those are absent renewal of the excess fund.
correct.
Yeah, okay.
To fix that though, we would have to plug in, like you just mentioned, monies here. And in order for the hiring the 2 firefighters and the admin assistant, thinking that we would have to look at something to that effect to, again, bring us back up to the amounts. And this is just barely enough for the first year, but to look at it at the next higher level, what is the price to the taxpayer? And as you can see that their levy, it's about $2.06 this year, would jump up to $2.07 and $2.09 with a diminishing cash carryover. And to recover from that, we'd have to increase the levy rate, total levy rate significantly. That would make it, I think, a little harder to pass. I mean, that's a sticker shock. And to stay within the range of about $2.10, which is what we basically told the public during our conversations about the excess levy originally and about the 5-year plan, trying to stay within the $2.10 range. So all of that having said, it would be difficult to recover the additional costs of additional staff with significant increase in 2009 or 29.
All those numbers are under the impression that we anticipate 1.5% growth every single year. Stays there.
We anticipated 6.5% increases in essentially our revenue. And we're expecting that it will be about, at least in my current projection, is 1.5.
Right. Yeah. And
So each of these is 1.5 instead of 6.
right.
So looking at all of that and still being able to pay the light bill and everything, I find it really difficult to be able to, if we,
Well, if I can say something, I personally feel that we committed to a 5-year plan and hiring 5 people. I understand the monies may not be there. It just means we have to go out for another M&O levy. But if we're not staffing 2 stations fully and showing to the public that we're staffing them, and you try and go out for another levy, they're not going to pass it because we've promised them numerous times and you still have not managed to get the station staffed. So personally, you need to do some adjustments in other areas so that you can staff that station. And if you can't do 5, then maybe 4 or 3 if we have to. But 2 is to me is too low. You need to have at least 3 or 4 new staff members on there. So you need to figure out someplace else in the budget to be able to cover those staff members.
Well, it would be very difficult, for one reason, is because we have, when you assume and hire people, you have a bow wave effect of those people that have increased. You know, we just completed our, collective bargaining agreement with raises and benefits and everything else. We have overhead staff and so forth. Those increases will be faster and higher than 1.5%, I guarantee you. So we would have to take an increasing amount of money outside the labor budget to help cover that until 2028 and go back and ask for a much larger excess levy than we would have planned to ask for. So if you also remember that the plan, the 5-year plan, was predicated on achieving assumed revenue streams that we had. So I think the part of our fiduciary responsibility with the public taxpayer is that we stay within our budget and manage and do the sufficient staffing as well as we can within our budget. We can't pay for people that we can't afford.
Yeah, well, then when you go out for another levy, it's not going to pass because people are not going to, they're not going to believe you anymore. You say one thing and then you're changing it. So it's no different than saying we got to stick to the 5-year plan. You're not sticking to it because you're not, you need to adjust the budgets in other places to cover that. You need to figure it out.
Well, I don't think that's a good way of going because having worked at the state for 15.5 years, state did that routinely. And the problem is you have leaky roofs, you have poor training, you have equipment that's out of date and unreliable. And you can't take enough money from those things to maintain all of those things.
Well, the solution is we go out for bonds for new equipment, just like other fire departments do, and we put our budget into our staffing. If we have to get new equipment, then we go for a bond for new equipment. But we need the staffing. We don't have the volunteer staff like we used to, so we need the career staffing.
And notify the community that you didn't get the money you were promised too.
Well, I think that the whole thing is that we have an ongoing communication with the public, the taxpayer, the voter. One of the things, if you remember, is that we, as part of goal 2 that we have, that you just approved with our business plan, is to work more closely with the community and making sure they understand why we've made these decisions. As a good fiduciary policy, it may impact to some degree our ability to staff 2 fire stations, but it will give us a better response than we had last year. We just brought on 5 additional people that as they spin up and are able to be driver operators and be more adept at staffing, we're improving our staffing at Station 83. And if you also remember, we never promised to have 100% staffing at Station 83 because it would not, may not be possible from time to time. So I think the point here is that we need to think seriously about financial decisions that will bow wave in effect into the next 4 years.
Yeah, I think if you were to proceed forward with those numbers of hires, you're gonna outstrip your ability to cover that. You might be able to cover that in the first year or so with, movement of money from your equipment and operations and maintenance. But I don't think we have enough that's gonna cover that very long.
I agree. We're talking about balance here. I think balance is important. I think you were totally right. Doing 5 is unreasonable and puts the taxpayers in a bad spot. But we've also said over the course of the last couple of years since the merger with District 7, that we would make an attempt to the best of our efforts to fully staff 2 stations full time. In our mission statement, I mean, it says that our community through deployment based on 2 or more strategic located fire stations, staffed around the clock with competent responders. We had them vote on us being able to staff 2 stations. I believe they are, because I am under the impression that we're gonna have 2 staff stations. Now, it doesn't mean we can't stretch that out over a couple of years, and we can't look at other revenue sources like transport for aids, all those kind of things. But I think we owe it to the taxpayers to get at least 2 or 3 new members on those. It gives a person extra for every single shift and increases the ability to staff those 2 stations every single time. Lori's right. I think part of this is diving through some of these things, because we've had to make cutbacks in our own divisions at work. And we can trim some of that fat a little bit, so we can make up for that spot. That 1.5% as opposed to 6.5 is $180,000. That's 2 positions right there, right? There's
That's about one position. The actual cost of the new FTE is $170 or $137,000.
Yeah, maybe it's just one time, this time around. I mean, I get that we are in a financial hardship right now. We don't know what the future holds, but based on history, that increases anywhere between 1.5% and 6.5% every single year. Can't guarantee it's gonna be less than 1.5, right? It's always gonna have to go up. No, most of the
No, it doesn't.
No,
Yeah,
most of the
it
time.
doesn't. We did that.
2008.
2008, yeah. The other, I don't disagree with the concept or the argument that, we owe the public, this obligation to try and get to 2 fully staffed stations, absolutely. But at the same time, you know, well, if we, as Gloria says, we go to them and they don't have that, they're gonna say, you promised it, no way. The other thing is the piece that Chief put up there about what would it take if we did hire those folks to keep us in the black. And we'd go back and say, well, okay, well, we got all those people, but now instead of $2 million, now we need 3.5. And I don't think that's gonna fly either. Yeah.
All we would be doing is delaying the ultimate issue of laying off people in 3 years.
We have to pivot the reserves, which we're sitting pretty good with reserve going down the departments right now too.
Pardon?
Dip into some of our reserves. We're sitting pretty good with our cash reserves more than other departments too. I think alternative means of financial resources is the answer here. Trimming our budget a little bit, trying to hire 1 or 2 or 3 spots, not doing 5, trying to come up with other revenue resources that we can do to compensate for these 3 positions. Because as a taxpayer, I think that everybody's under the impression that we're trying to fully staff those positions. And if we don't, if we go out for another bond or an excess levy or whatever it looks like, I don't think we're gonna do very well.
Carl,
Well, the problem is, it's a diminishing process. If you have less revenue and increased expenses, it's gonna cross over at some point. No matter what types of tricks we try to do balancing money, taking Peter from Paul. And so what I'm trying to say is that I've seen the state try to do this many times and they always get caught. The counties got caught doing the same damn thing. What I'm saying is I'm trying to tell you is that you need to make tough decisions now so that we don't have that problem 3 years down. And I'm especially concerned making sure that we are able to safely and, pay for the people we currently have. And I will tell you that, I think it would be a much harder deal to try to sell a 30 cent per 1,000 tax increase. And that's at least, it would have to go up in the next 4 years as well, than trying to explain the fact that we balanced our budget because we couldn't afford the additional 5 staff. I'd much rather tell the public that.
Sure.
Especially in this day and age when they're looking at their dollars. I'm certain they're concerned about service, but it all comes out in the wash when they get their tax statement in February. I've been through this.
Yeah, I know, I get it. At what point does it put us in the red? If we hire 1, does that put us in the red when we look downstream a little bit? So we can show good faith to the public that we're making an attempt to fully staff this and with the understanding, AB hit us pretty hard, we're gonna have to cut back, do some things, but here's our 5-year plan is not gonna change.
Well, 1 or 2, it doesn't matter, because it'll catch up with us within 2 to 3 years. Then what do?
Which is two.
You have to end up putting them off. See, it looks nice for 26. But, you know, we've had the foresight to look down 4 or 5 years beyond what the impacts are. And so that's when the impacts come back and bite us, especially if the increases in AV are significantly less than what they've historically been.
Or the increases in inflation. That-
Well, and
cost side.
on the expense side,
Yeah.
increases in inflation.
Yes.
I mean, I gotta admit, I'm not excited about doing this. You know, we had these great 5-year plan. But it was all predicated on and I will say sound financial assumption. For the first 2 years that we did it, and somebody threw a curve at us.
I don't know, as a taxpayer, I would be more adept to spend $2.40 per assessed house and make sure I had 2 rigs on the road than I would do 2,000 and somebody out of Johnson Point with my kids' children and that over there. That's important to me. And I don't know if everybody else feels that same way, but having multiple rigs and here to compensate when somebody else is out is super important to me. I mean, I don't know, maybe that's a messaging thing when we get out, but service should come first and our citizens should come first.
Mhm. Exactly.
The same arguments all the time. Like somebody's sick or hurt, and you need them to come.
It just means no raises for anybody coming up. If we can't maintain our own staff.
Well, just.
Well, this budget that I'm proposing maintains current staff we have. And that's why I'm worried about it. I'm not trying to have additional expenses that could cause us to have to make more serious decisions down the road, 2 years, maybe 3.
Yeah, it's a big risk. It is for sure, but is it a risk we want to take? Is it something that we can, through executive session, through just work groups, trying to figure out other revenue sources to make up, compensate for some of those in the black spots that we have?
I can't conceive of any reliable, long-term revenue source that could cover even 1 FTE, to be honest with you.
Well, maybe you need to look at doing transports with the aid cars and reevaluate doing that. A lot of stations are making a lot of extra money doing transports. So
Well-
we need to change our way of thinking, and we need to start thinking outside the box on how to create more revenue to be able to sustain our staffing.
Well, as I mentioned in our briefing, 2 years ago, this subject came up, and there's a couple, for transport, for example. There aren't enough calls to really make it worth our while for charging, even if they were all reimbursed through CMS. The other is we had staffing limitations, and we will still have some staffing limitations to be able to provide that service. And again, I can't conceive any way that fully charging for the transports that we do, or we could do, would cover even 1 FTE. With the increased cost, not only for labor, but for insurance, for equipment, and all of that. And this is what I explained to you, 2 years ago, now about the proposal
Yeah,
of
that's
doing BLS transport.
has to do with our call
Well,
volume.
there's been discussion about mobilization. Well, mobilization is only simply reimbursement for existing labor and mechanical equipment.
Yeah.
It's not a separate form of revenue. And by statute, we're limited to doing only things that the statute allows us to do. And we can't build widgets, we can't sell cars, we can't, manage real estate, we can't produce things. We can't farm. I mean, it's just, we're not legally allowed to do that, so we're very limited on those free sources of revenue that we have.
Is this something we can bring to the public and ask their opinion of it? I know we don't get a huge audience for those things, but given that information to the public, and hey, this is where, help us make a decision. Maybe turning those cards over to them and say, this is the predicament that we're in. These are the things that we're up against. This is what we'd like to do. This is what we can do. Or we just lay out all the options for them to do that we can. Transparency is probably the best policy when it comes to public, especially when they just voted
Extremely important.
a year ago to approve this.
Yeah, we don't have to adopt this budget until, I mean, we're not required by law to even adopt a budget. An expense budget. If we did the legal things that we are required by law to do in authorizing a tax levy. So we've got the revenue stream being less than we expected, but we do have a revenue stream coming in. So the adoption of a detailed expense budget can happen anytime. We've, from time to time, we've had it, had a week of December or January. to do that. That's fine. But it depends on how we want to do this. That's your job.
So if, based on what you were just saying about the public, and we know that we have our goal, number 2 is to do more work with the public and try and make sure we get output on that. We can, sort of front load that, some of that effort, whatever, try to bring that out, get some input, see if that's available, if there are ideas, maybe that might be something a way to approach this would be to put that as a priority, almost move that to goal group 1 in terms of, what we're trying to get is public buy-in on our decision-making process. Let's put that up front.
Well, fact remains that the new assumption for our revenue stream for the next 5 years changes dramatically. I mean, weren't expected. We gave the public the best information we had 2 years ago when we asked them to vote for the excess levy. We did. They approved it. And we're stuck with that levy in 2 more years. I mean, I think it would not be wise to try to run a second, and we could run a second excess levy if we wanted to. I don't think that the likelihood of a second excess levy would pass.
We don't hire anybody to go up for a second excess levy. Highly doubt that's gonna get passed.
So, stuff.
Yeah.
And I would say, barring any significant change in our growth in our assessed valuation, that these are the numbers at least we're going to be stuck with in 27 and 28.
Okay, so your official stance is to not to hire anybody, at least a new entry level hire for 2026.
My recommendation would be I think we need to continue to have a balanced budget. I don't think we rob Peter to pay Paul. It's just a recipe for disaster at some point. So, and we've never done that in this district. Well, I was involved. I think that we need to make a tough decision now to ensure that we have an adequate ending cash balance each year as a business. And I think if we need to curb expenditures this year, that's exactly what we need to do. I think we need to be clear with the public why we did that and what the impacts would be. I think that there probably will be some response impact with not having 5, I think, additional responders we thought, but we've made some headway with the additional ones that we've already hired.
Well, I think we need to do an executive meeting to further discuss this come December.
that's possible, sure. Okay. Dan, do you have anything to share? Okay,
My main concerns there too is what the public did vote for. We need to stay as close as we can to that. We don't wanna keep piling things on, or eventually they're voting for brick walls and not gonna approve anything.
yeah, I hear what you're saying, about, the number of people and, how often we have folks staffed at Station 83. But I would, in my mind, I would think that the general public doesn't know how many people or whether we have people at Station 83 on any particular day, but they do know when they get their tax bill, whether it's changed. Yeah, so we need to draw a balance here.
I agree with that 100%, but I think maybe I'm just out on a limb here, but I think people they prefer service over taxes. Like if I know that my mother is aging, she's living on 27 Court on Friendly Road, and if she calls 911 and 81's out, 83 is not staffed, that's a huge issue. And that it only takes one bad call. When we have made a promise to the public that we would do our due diligence to staff these engines. As opposed to, hey, this is what it looks like in 2029, looks like it's gonna be $2.04 per assessed thousand. I think people would absorb that hit better, if we give the information to make the correct decision.
Yes, I agree. However, I would tell you that we're not the only government agencies having to look at the service we provide because of reduced revenues or whatever. So I think it's also important that people probably understand that. Yeah, I mean, I want service as a taxpayer in this district as well. But I also recognize that by law, government has to balance its budget. And that's just the way it is. And it's tough
So
decision.
the other thing is how much have you budgeted for overtime? Because obviously there's been a lot of overtime pay, and how much has been budgeted for overtime that we wouldn't have to put in overtime pay if you're paying a staff member to be there? I've
Well, right now-
never gotten the numbers on the overtime pay. So what are the numbers on overtime pay?
Well, right now, because of kind of the interim nature of our 5-year plan, we're about 170% over our overtime budget. That we've chosen to authorize overtime to staff 83 or fill vacant positions and so forth. The assumption for the 26 budget is about a 7% overtime, which is normally about our average for overtime. And with the plan being, as we stabilized our staffing, that we would come back down from the very high percentage of overtime we currently have down to the 7% to maintain the regular staffing we have. So the numbers that you see on the chart there are assuming a 7% overtime.
See, I don't see anything on there that says 7% overtime. I'm only seeing part of this spreadsheet.
Right there.
Okay, so that's 7%. Dollar wise, how much is that 7%?
It's right there next to me.
Well, I have to do the math. I thought it's 7% of that number.
I can't see the number. Is that 4 million or is that 4?
Yep. 4,625,000.
It's about $325,000.
So that can, that right there could staff 1 to 2 more members, new members with and being able to cover staffing by not doing the overtime.
Well, in theory,
It's something, yes, in theory, but it's something to think about. If you've got the staff members, you don't have to pay the overtime. So why not have the staff members and not wear our people out, having them do overtime? I mean, some guys really like the overtime because the extra money, but still, if that's the solution, you're talking 300,000. Each member would be, a new member would be barely 100,000. So that's two members you can have and still have a little extra for overtime if you need it, if somebody comes out sick.
Well, actually, the hiring, the labor cost isn't the total cost of an employee. There's equipment, there's training, there's overheads, all of that stuff that's up and above that 130-some thousand per person. So, you know, you need to add all of that in, plus the fact that, I don't think it's a prudent business decision to make and not have any overtime for emergency service like we have, because it's gonna happen, you're gonna have to incur it at some point. And then if you have to spend it, it becomes an unbudgeted item.
Well, I'm getting a little frustrated with this because there's an answer for everything that we say. Something needs to be figured out. We need to go into an executive session at some point and discuss this because we're not making any headway with our discussions right now. So whatever we do, I'm done for tonight with this.
Is that our next move? Should we just try to put together an executive session? Because I think we gotta make a decision here.
Executive session is fine, but just recall, we don't make any decisions in executive session. Right, yeah. So, yeah, then it would be a special open meeting, whatever, that, yeah, so just to make sure we're all on board on that. Okay. Yeah,
Well, it also has to be scheduled.
correct. Okay, I do think that we're kind of at the end of our discussion on this. Thank you, everyone, for your input. We move on to our IR&R status and our goals, 1s, 2s.
You should have a handout for goal 1. Put together something really easier, at least this was a helpful tool for me, because all of our SOPs. Getting kind of cloudy progress of what's where and how many are still hanging out there and where we are. So I did a color code on this one. Green being that one's done. Yellow, the ones we're working, we did get some good headway this month, so there's another couple more that we figure are kind of close to the end stages, final review. And that's what the yellow color coded ones indicate. The gray indicate ones that have a lot more interoperability, so I feel like these are important ones we do at a county level. We have a county committee that reviews interoperable ones, so that one helped us to kind of track down and get a better idea of which ones are going to be, you know, more appropriate countywide that we work on. And the blue indicates most of these are 20-year-old procedures, and we had a lot of them that are specific for real tactical stuff. What is a written team, a standby team? And I think a lot of these don't necessarily need to be rewritten as they are, but rather be folded into an updated procedure. So I think the blue ones could probably be folded into one, maybe two procedures that are updated. We have a new word, incident command structure than we did in one of our procedures, where we have a thing called Blue Card now, which gives us a more formalized process the county's doing. And a lot of our procedures don't really line out the way county's been working. So I think with those blue ones, basically the idea is just to kind of consolidate them into likely one. And the red ones haven't been started yet, mostly on mobilization and wildland. This isn't our forte really, so I think kind of acknowledge that there's probably a lot of expertise we're gonna need to bring in, a lot of what ifs, and we don't really know how we want to make that look or what it should be. So the red isn't really started yet, but we still have it on there as something we want to work through. So anyway, this sheet, it's mostly again a tool for me, but just kind of give everybody a kind of snapshot on sort of where we are on most of these. And again, like I said, I expect probably hear this and next month, another probably 3 of these yellow ones. Anyway, that's just kind of a shot at where the SOP process is and trying to get the best, you know, in by the end of the year as we can, because we're rolling in our wrap them up in 26 and ongoing, we'll make sure that the rest of them get tackled, but some of them clearly just not going to do this year.
Yeah, understood.
Questions on goal one? And then on goal two, just going with the existing 5-year plan, kind of the progress on where we are on that. Chief briefly mentioned, we did do our interview process on our firefighters and we went through that. Narrow down, went through the interview and got them through backgrounds, and most of the backgrounds are in, so we sent 8 people to background checks. One, of course, got hired already, so we're down to 7. Those are all basically just sitting in queue, so we have an opportunity, we have a pool of people. Yeah, we decided to make offers, and that would be, it's just waiting. And then as far as our lieutenant count stays the same, and this is based on the fact that we did anticipate having 15 firefighters this year, we're currently at 13. Volunteer counts starting to drop down, we haven't done any onboarding for a while. With volunteers, that's why that one's dropping down. Part of with our 26 plan, goal 1 is listed on our plan now. Talks about looking at our staffing needs, so that includes the volunteer. What does that mean? If we have a need for, to what extent for volunteer response capability, to what extent for career response capability, and of course, not even circle back in the budget on what we're doing for it, but just looking at the whole picture. So that is our goal 1, it's just looking at our staffing needs.
Yep.
So that would include, of course, our volunteer estimates. And then that'd be helpful for me to know, well, how many we bring in and how that looks. That's the gist of goal 2.
No, thank you for the color code, that helps a lot to see that.
I was saying, well, this is later, but well, so I needed to find a way to organize myself. And as far as staffing, got your ABC, and of course, yellows are for staff and blues are volunteers. So we're sitting right now. Any questions on that? I'm happy to answer.
Well, thank you.
I think that covers it, thanks. All right, we have review of policies on salaries and benefits and annual sick leave.
I sent out the first draft of both of those policies. There's no action that we need to take tonight. I guess it's an opportunity if you had any questions after having looked at them. Here,
And these both are sort of modified to make sure they're in compliance with the collective bargaining agreement.
if there was no language for that, as
Yeah.
well as a couple of, they both had not been updated in a
Yeah.
while, so. The one that I sent without any code advisor was, it was all red, so it was confusing to read, that's why it's, doesn't show what the change, significant enough number of changes. So I will be asking for board approval at the next meeting.
Any comments on either of those at this time?
We talked about collective bargaining members in one of these documents that said that we do an assessment from based on salary benefits for administration people. Have that been done in the past?
Yes,
It has. Okay, and we're right now even keel with which our staff should be paid.
well, funny you ask that question. We are looking at that, and one of the things that, in one of the budget scenarios is looking at adjusting up the executive staff by 5%. And my primary reason for that is the fact that the compression based on the new collective bargaining agreement and including the quality of pay that they receive and overtime that they receive is really closed the comparison between the fire chief, assistant chief, and then battalion chief. So to try to deal with some of that compression, one of the things I wanted to talk about was 5% increase for the 3 executive staff.
When you propose, you'd be asking for that at the beginning of January?
It would be effective January, yes.
Okay.
And again, that's one of the details that's in the budget proposal. Be glad to answer any questions about that.
Okay, we had talked about trying to, have that a little more visual
I have a chart of it.
and, okay, and so we'll talk about that or be able to discuss that chart when
We can,
next meeting or
we,
tonight or,
we can do it tonight if you'd like. I didn't bring the chart. I didn't think we're gonna get that far, but.
Okay.
Or we could do it if we have a meeting talking about all this. We gotta do it then too.
that might be the better thing, because that'll roll into, that'll go roll into all of it, but
I can actually send that out to you, prior to whenever we have the next meeting, so.
okay.
You receive your cost of living increase every single year, like the fire department unit members do? Or you receive your cost of living increase, so you get your 3.5% every.
The policy says it's based on the CPI,
Unless you're asking for additional 5%.
well, 5% total is what the assumption that I made in the budget. The CPI for 25, for 26, 2.7%.
Okay, maybe these are discussions for later, but like I'm kind of hard pressed on one of the first things we do pass the excess levies. We're going up to 5% for the executive staff, and we have a hard time putting staff on the, to staff 2 rigs.
Yeah,
Okay.
I feel the same way. If we can't staff the station, then why do people get raises?
that, I think that's all part of the same vein of discussion is, yeah.
100%.
All right. Assuming there's no other comments about the policy proposals, and we will have those back before us for approval next month. We'll move on. Right, the secretary's report.
I've got the minutes from October 14th. I had no edits made to those.
I remember seeing those. I had no edits.
Minutes as written.
Okay, it's been moved to approve them as written.
I'll second.
All right, moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
And are there any questions on the warrants?
I sent you my question, but this is
That's
me being wonky.
okay.
I did have two, item number 1053. And what is it? 1117. Either one of those have an explanation to them.
And
It just says payroll, but also they have payroll attached on top. I don't know if they were connected or,
number 1053.
yeah, first one.
Oh, that was a draw.
Okay. So 1117 must be the same drop.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Sometimes it's an actual draw and another time, that the second one is actually because he worked overtime and he was paid regular time, so there was an error on his paycheck. And that was the difference, so he asked if he could get a draw on what the difference would be.
That's all I have.
Great.
Anything else, Dan or Flo?
No,
Okay, looking for a motion to approve.
I move to approve the budget or the check register.
Okay. Moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye.
aye.
Okay,
And I forgot to bring a handout, but I was going to make a recommendation that we hold our board meetings on the second Tuesday of the month next year.
well, that'd be different.
What do you think?
Well, it's kind of odd to do that.
Do we have any conflicts with national holidays like we did this
I
year?
don't think so. I don't think so. I double checked.
Yeah.
But on a similar note, I've been trying to, well, people are starting to ask to use facilities for next year. And, I'm learning as I go because some people are asking for dates and they're changing up their dates, from what they asked for this year. which is conflicting with other folks that are already using gates. And then it was brought to my attention that we can't use Station 83 during a window of time because of the construction. So, I'm juggling that, but we'll get it figured out. Yeah, we're gonna be busy using our facilities.
Okay, yeah, second Tuesday of each month sounds
Yeah.
appropriate.
Great, that's what we're doing, we've been doing the last several years, so. And then, I don't know if you read the email I sent out today, you may not have, because it just went out this afternoon, but we're gonna try something new for Christmas. Instead of doing a Christmas dinner, we're gonna incorporate a members event with the staffed Santa visit that we've done the last few years, where we have Santa here at the station. So we experimented with a Santa run, which is the Santa on the fire engine visiting the neighborhoods. And then we also had a day where he's actually here. And that's supposed to help folks that didn't get to see Santa. But we thought, well, why don't we have a special window that's just for our membership, and we'll offer lunch and extra whatever. That way the children can see Santa during the day, not at night. 'Cause we heard some folks say that the little kids, it's just too hard to bring them at night. They'd rather do a daytime thing. So we're gonna experiment and try that.
I like the idea a lot.
Yeah.
I think,
I
you
do.
know, that'll be real.
It's
It's sort of informal, but there is a time schedule.
Yeah.
It's available to everybody, especially folks with small kids.
Yep.
And we'll have, snacks.
And snacks, yeah.
Okay.
Did it, we did, keep it very, keep believe, but you grab a little plate, a dish or something, we continue to socialize.
Yeah, of course. And I didn't add it as an announcement, but I will announce to you that, we got the notice about next year's, fire commissioners, conference, and it's in Spokane. And I already booked rooms for everybody. Just in case, I figured it's better to book them and then cancel at the last minute if we have. to.
Heidi, you don't have to book a room for me,
Okay,
because I'll just stay at my house in Idaho.
okay, thank
Okay.
you. And that's all I have.
And when is that?
Okay.
Is that the
Will be in October again.
Yeah, I don't know the exact dates.
Okay.
Oh, I can tell you what those dates are. Hang on. It's October 21st through the 24th.
Close to what it was this year.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, down to commissioner comments. Anyone have anything? I will share the latest results of the general election in Thurston County, specifically for 2 fire commissioner positions at District 8.
Congratulations.
No, well, thank you. Let's see, I would like to announce that Pam has received 98.79% of all
Wow.
votes cast.
Wow, I'm impressed.
Yeah. And I've received 98.7%
Wow.
of all votes cast for me. So it's kind of.
Very good.
Interesting, the total includes write-in votes. And I wasn't really aware of write-in, what was,
They do, I
what that
looked at
was.
it this year.
Everybody always has an
Sometimes like
opportunity,
silly little things, yeah.
everyone who votes has an opportunity to use the write-in if they want to. I can tell you that Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck are 2 of the names that I saw most when I did ballot inspection last year. But there are some others that, you know, somebody's cat or this and that. Yeah, and there's a person named anybody but this guy up above, you know, and that kind of thing. Anyway, it's,
You clearly didn't have the drama Port Olympia's commissioner race had. so-
right. Right, yeah, no real drama here, so, yeah, 47 write-ins of Mickey Mouse for me, I'm making that, you know, who it is always I'm determined, but anyway, Pam 43 for Pam, but
Yeah.
98%. I think
Pretty
you'll,
good.
I think you'll make it. Yeah.
And Doug did not touch any of his own ballots.
I didn't touch any of anybody's ballots. Yeah, I did work for Thurston County elections the last couple of weeks. And I drove the van and we went to collect ballots in sealed envelopes. I didn't touch any that were in unsealed,
Even the Mickey Mouses?
even Mickey Mouse. Okay, any review and follow-up?
We will look at scheduling a work session on the budget, probably between now and the December meeting, so Heidi will do her scheduling magic.
Okay,
What I would do ask, though, if there are specific things that you would like additional information on prior to that, I can make sure I can pull some information together.
Right.
To have at that time, so.
Okay.
And then, that's about it.
yeah.
Oh, next, please let me know if you have any input on the two draft policy updates.
Okay. All right, with that, I think we will adjourn until next month. And or the special meeting, right? All right, thank you, everybody, for your attendance.
So my
Thank
question-
you.
I mean, I may need to meet with you on this, but it's. I was. I don't know, brief on this.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Good night, thank you. And just draw a picture. I think it's a thing, I've seen.